Welcome to Negotiation Made Simple, where we help you master the art of negotiation and win the next deal. I'm your host, John Lowry. I am really excited about this episode. This is the first time that we have featured an entertainment executive on the program. And I'm thrilled to feature Simon Lythgoe. Simon is a British film and television producer, but what you'll know Simon for is what he's done right here in the United States of America. You've probably heard of a little show called American Idol that Simon produced. Incredible success, and Simon's going to tell us the story of the negotiation that made American Idol happen. Maybe you've heard of Disney's Fairy Tale Weddings, or So You Think You Can Dance, or his most recent project was a Netflix movie, Meet Me Next Christmas, which ended up as Netflix's highest rated movie from all of last year. Simon has produced a ton of stuff in television, and in doing so, he has had to negotiate his success. He's had to negotiate with talent. He's had to negotiate with agents. He's had to negotiate with networks. He's had to negotiate with production folks. Simon has to be successful in all of these negotiations in order for that TV show to become reality and to entertain us in our living rooms or on our phones. And so join me in welcoming Simon Lythgoe as we jump into this conversation about how it is that we can more effectively and efficiently negotiate big deals. Simon, great to have you here, my friend.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. Really appreciate it.
Good deal. Well, you've made a difference in the lives of a lot of people through the entertainment that you've provided. American Idol, Disney's Fairy Tale Wedding, So You Think You Can Dance. I think you also produced Meet Me Next Christmas, which you just mentioned was the top Netflix movie of last year or something like that. Just some incredible stuff. You're Emmy nominated, Grammy nominated, People's Choice winner. Your career has been what I would call like a master class in negotiation. And so I'm so honored that you're here to kind of tell us about it today.
Thank you. And all those shows you've named, I have to say, it was a team effort on every single one of them.
Sure.
There is not a single person behind any show where we don't work together, from the music business, from the, there's so many different aspects to a television or a film production that it's always a team effort. I cannot take credit for all of those things you just said, but thank you very much.
Yeah, well, that point right there is really important to us because, you're exactly right. It absolutely takes a team, but for a team to function well, the team's got to know how to communicate and how to work together and how to put deals together and all those different things. And that's kind of what this is all about, is how is it that we manage that process strategically so that people can come together and do really interesting and impactful things together like you've done through your entertainment career?
Yeah, it's been a journey. It's taken me to 3 different continents and 3 decades worth. And, you're sort of saying negotiating to get the show on air. I believe that every single day on production is a negotiation.
Absolutely.
Dealing with talent, dealing with egos, dealing with attorneys saying, you can't do this, it's too risky, you can't do that, and then negotiating with them and getting that down. And basically, as a television producer, film producer, and sort of showrunner, all you're doing is trying to figure out what can go wrong and how do we bounce back from that, and how do we, what's our response a lot of the time to all of those productions, and then close your eyes, pray a little.
Hope and pray. Yeah, exactly. All right, well, I want to jump into all that, but before we do, just give people a little bit of background about how you got into television and kind of where your television career has taken you.
Well, people always ask me, how do you get into the business? And there's no right or wrong reason. It's everyone is different. I was very blessed in that both my parents were already in the industry. Mm-hmm. They were both dancers, choreographers back in the UK. And at 4 years old, I remember my dad taking me on the set of The Muppet Show.
Oh, wow.
And I was the most popular kid in school that year, let me tell you.
Absolutely.
And that was my first sort of like, I want to do this. Like, I'm seeing the studio, I'm seeing multi-cameras, I see the Muppets. How do I be a part of this? And at a very young, early age, I knew at like 9, 10 years old, I'm like, there's Elton John. I want to go and meet Elton John. And the Bee Gees, if you remember that far back, the Bee Gees, my dad was choreographing with those guys and working with those guys. And my career was laid out at a very young age.
Got it.
I had no choice.
You
by the
knew
time
what direction you were going.
Knew exactly where I was going.
So. Got it. So was there a moment there where you realized like Kermit the Frog, or was not like an actual
Actually,
frog?
it was devastating. It was
Yeah,
Miss Piggy.
I was going to say, that's got to be
Miss
like...
Piggy. And
Okay.
I remember seeing Miss Piggy, and I went up to Miss Piggy, and Miss Piggy was like dead. And I was shocked and like, what do I say? What do I do? It's not working. And then Frank Oz walked over and picked up Miss Piggy and went, hey, yeah! And next thing you know, Miss Piggy is trying to take a swipe at me, and Miss Piggy was alive.
There you go.
And the funny thing was, I remember it that when Miss Piggy was alive, even though Frank Oz, who did the voice of Miss Piggy, was standing there, you still addressed Miss Piggy. It was Miss Piggy that was alive. And part of the production, when I worked with him later on, I worked on the Royal Variety Show for the Queen.
Okay.
And we had the Muppets. And I must have been about 20 years old then.
Got it.
And we had the Muppets on that show. And it is part of that production that you have to address the Muppet. You can never address the person who's doing the voice.
Interesting.
And so, anyway, as a kid, I knew exactly what to do, obviously, because it was Miss Piggy that was alive.
There you go. Well, all is well in the world, knowing that Miss Piggy is okay. So I define negotiation as a strategic communication process to get a deal or to solve a problem.
Yes.
I would guess that is 90+% of what you do as a television producer is just put deals together and solve problems in terms of making this whole thing come together and seamless when someone watches it on TV or their tablet. So recognizing that, like, when did you realize that like your success as a producer would depend on how well you were able to just put deals together and solve problems? When did that idea and that skill kind of elevate in your mind of, I've got to be really good at this in order to get people together to produce the kind of product that we want to produce?
I've had to sort of reinvent my career 3 times.
Okay.
From the UK to Australia, adapting to that culture, and then to the United States, where we were told, American Idol was going to fail multiple times. I'm sure we'll go into that story.
Yeah, for sure.
And so what I realized is first off, you've got to have an idea and adapt that idea from a creative perspective. So I'm pitching ideas, and then you've got to have a passion behind that idea. So you see that light, and you've got to make people believe in your passion. And I think you've got to distinguish between passion and emotion, because emotion will cloud everything.
Yeah.
Emotion you can't get through. Yeah. But a passion is you've got a direct sight. You know where you're headed. And if you're passionate about something and you believe in it, and someone can see that in your eyes, then your negotiations becomes much smoother because they want your vision as well.
Interesting. Okay.
So then it becomes this is where we're headed, whatever show it may be, and we're going in this direction. It's going to appeal to this audience, and look at my track record of what I've done before.
Sure.
And now you can see that I'm actually more passionate about this than I was about that.
Yeah.
And this can't fail. We're going. This is the direction. Whether we negotiate and you pass, I'm still making this with or without you.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. You better believe it. So that makes people go, oh, we want to be a part of this. And when it comes to negotiating, then it just comes down to, the industry in television and film is pretty well, deals have been established. So you're not going to fluctuate too much from those deals. And now we have the Wild West, which is obviously social media, producing for social media, where there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of people to take advantage of you too. So you have to be very cautious in that world at the moment as it is emerging.
Yeah. Way. What you just described there, that's like Aristotle kind of stuff, where it's pathos, it's that passion that becomes a huge driver, and it becomes something that has a level of charisma to it, where people want to kind of get on board with it. And once you're able to accomplish that, that becomes a really valuable tool for people, because then the conversation changes from, should this happen? Is this good for me? And it changes to, like, how can we make this happen? Or how can I contribute to this? And if you have that mindset going in, I can see how deals are easier to strike and things are easier to make happen.
And one of the things that people, in my opinion, never do enough of is research.
Yeah.
And that research gives you then the ultimate thing, which is timing. If you can time it just right, then you've got a hit on your hand. That deal's going to pass because your timing is right, and you've done your research, so you know your history, your background, where you're coming from. You've done your research into your buyer.
Sure.
Be it a network, what are they looking for? What's their demographic as an audience? You've done what's worked for them in the past, what hasn't worked for them in the past. And I get so many pitches throughout the years, people pitching me shows, and you go, well, you haven't done your research because it's already on air.
It already exists.
It already exists,
Yeah,
and you've come up
yeah.
with this idea, but thank you for your time.
Yeah.
And that's where people, I think, in any business, they don't do their research enough and
Yeah.
structure it.
Really interesting point there, because the research that you're talking about and thinking about the pitch, and we'll go back to this because I want to talk some more about this, but this whole idea of the pitch, so many people, they spend hours, they spend a ton of money getting ready to kind of tell their story. And the missing piece of that is they don't connect their story to the people that they're telling it to. And it may be similar to a really good TV show. A really good TV show connects at some level with the audience, or people connect to it and connect to the characters. But I love that idea of saying, like, okay, you got your story, but the important thing is to do the research on their story so you know how to make the points of connection. That's what becomes so influential and ultimately persuasive to getting them to say yes.
Exactly. The amount of times I go into a network and I can pitch a show to an executive, and if I know that executive is, and I'm pitching, maybe it's a music show, and I'm pitching an executive who's from Alabama. Now, if I go in there and I'm pitching music, I'm probably going to sway that music towards something from the South, some country music, because I know their culture background. They're going to prefer that than if I played them the Beatles from England, So it's just doing a little bit of research. And one of the things that when I do try and pitch a show, be it a game show, and likewise with a viewing audience at home, one of the greatest things about American Idol was who decides who the American Idol is.
Interesting.
You at home. You decide.
Yeah.
So now you're interacting. And if I can do that when I'm pitching a game show, if I can get the network executive to play along with me and be the contestant, they really enjoy it typically. Yeah. If they enjoy it, guess what? Someone at home's going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And if they enjoy it at home, we've got a commission and we're making a TV show.
They're going to see that. All right, we got to talk about American Idol.
Okay.
Like that show, as I said at the top, was huge in terms of my life and so many millions of other people. Tell us, how did American Idol come together, and how did negotiation help in terms of making that a reality?
So back then I worked very close with my father, Nigel Lythgoe.
Sure.
And we're talking sort of 1998, 1999, 2000.
Okay. Got it.
This is before American Idol.
Yep.
And I was working in Australia on American Idol's predecessor. It was called Pop Stars.
Pop Stars, okay.
Which was trying to put together a pop group of 5 girls, like the Spice Girls, if you remember that far back.
Yeah, for sure.
And I sold that format. I was working in development. I sold that to my dad in the UK. And that Pop Stars became Pop Idol, which, when it was so successful in the UK, he tried to pitch it to America. And, he's telling me, if we sell it to America, you're coming with me, you're going to move to America too. And they pitched it to the networks, and they couldn't get it past the agencies. The agent system in Hollywood is quite unique to the entertainment industry. You don't have an agent system in the UK or Australia.
Okay.
But we literally couldn't get it past the agent system, where they're like, oh, we've seen talent shows before. It's very 1980s with 3 judges, Star Search. It's been and done, and no one's watching that. And we don't want another talent show, and we certainly don't want a British person coming over telling us that where America's Got Talent or America's got, the vocal capabilities. Who's got the X factor. So we couldn't, and we could try to get it in front of networks, and we basically were shut down before it got anywhere. And then it was Elizabeth Murdoch called up her dad, Rupert Murdoch, because at the time she was head of Shine in the UK.
Okay.
And she called up Dad saying, hey, Dad, you've got to get this in front of the network executives at Fox Network, because it's been turned down. They won't even take the pitch, but this show is going gangbusters around the world. And Pop Stars before it, they had #1 artists and albums around. We're talking China, we're talking India. Every country, and I think it's 57 countries around the world, had a #1 album. And in the UK, it just happened again. And, this was water cooler effect. Everybody's talking about Pop Idol. So anyway, we get a pitch to Fox, and Fox are like, we don't really want this show, but if you can get a sponsor on board, we'll take it as a summer show. So they said, and we'll set you up with a meeting. And my father tells me the story. He met with Stevie Springford, a guy who ran Pepsi at the time, I believe, and called up Pepsi and said, look, we've got the show Pop Idol. There's this guy, Simon Cowell. He's going to tell everyone in America how terrible they are.
And not do it gently, and be entertaining in how he does it.
And tell it like it is.
Yeah.
And we sent them the video of Simon Cowell, and Pepsi went, wow, you're going to tell Americans what a bunch of losers they are. And we went, yeah. and the guy at Pepsi went, you need to call Coca-Cola. And then they hung up on us.
Interesting.
And that was it. That was it. We're like, oh, shoot. Okay, we better adapt that pitch.
Yeah.
because they don't want us telling Americans. Basically, Pepsi doesn't want to be associated with a bunch of losers.
Yeah.
So we basically re-edited the sizzle tape of Pop Idol.
Okay.
And we took out Simon Cowell.
Interesting.
And we repitched it to made it with Coca-Cola. And we took it in there and we said, you know what? We're going to find America's next superstar.
Huh.
And that was the pitch. That's simple. We've got the talent behind it. We've done it in England. We've done it it's been around the world with pop stars. And that's how it was pitched to Coca-Cola without Simon Cowell. And went, okay, we can be maybe part of this. We'll sign up for one season. And that was the season we found Kelly Clarkson.
Wow.
As soon as Coca-Cola was on board, we had the series. It was a limited series over the summer.
Uh-huh.
And nobody expected
what happened that summer. Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite, and then season 2 got picked up immediately and it just grew and grew and grew. And it was if we talked about the success of American Idol, not only did it become part of American Idol, American culture, it launched some huge superstars, Grammy winners, Oscar winners, but it also changed the music industry. It was groundbreaking to the music industry. We launched iTunes. We launched, the iPhone. It was AT&T sponsored it. They were getting more votes than the President of the United States. And this was back in the votes when, you picked up a phone.
Yeah.
This wasn't going on Facebook and social
you dialed
media.
The number. This number for this person, that number for another person. Yeah.
It really changed it. And we were called the Death Star of television shows because anytime another network put up anything against us, we destroyed them.
Couldn't touch it.
Yeah. It was. We were getting higher ratings at the time than the Super Bowl did.
It was a movement.
Everyone wanted to be a part of it. Everyone wanted to be connected to it. Everybody took credit for making it.
I'm sure. So what's interesting about that, though, is, one of the things that I always try to highlight for people is like ego. It's the number one decision-making factor for people. It's ego. And so that whole idea of Simon Cowell coming and telling Americans that they suck at singing and stuff, it was just kind of an ego thing of no one wants that. And so then to say no, let's find the superstar and to kind of get through that and then get to a point to where from an ego standpoint, everyone wants to be associated with a superstar.
That's right.
And so to see how ego was such a huge player and how to manage ego and play to ego, how that went from absolutely not, we have no interest to this is the biggest thing in entertainment right now is really interesting. So talk to me about how you manage egos. You probably have a lot of egos that you get to manage that can be difficult at times.
I think one of the greatest ways to deal with an ego is to speak the truth in grace. I know it sounds silly.
Interesting. Okay.
But you speak the truth with grace. If you speak the truth with harshness, you could bruise an ego.
Yeah.
And if you keep your eye on the ball and you stay directly to whatever that show may be, my goal, if you're dealing with talent, for example, my goal is to make you look good. Yeah. If you believe that, look what I did in the past. Yeah. And thankfully, we had a Kelly Clarkson, a Carrie Underwood to show, look at the stars we made. And going back to American Idol, it was the American dream. We've just gone from rags to riches. And who decides? Yeah. America decides. You've been voted. So it was one of those shows that connected with an audience. You build a fan base. At the same time on American Idol, I watched egos skyrocket with certain contestants. And they think they've got this yellow gold piece of paper that says American Idol and their life is made.
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, the next series comes out and no one knows who they are again.
Interesting.
And you watch that ego come crashing down. Yeah. And it's actually really sad to watch that happen. At the same time, it kept me grounded in a way and made me connect with my church as well.
Yeah.
Just to go, how do I stay grounded?
Sure.
Because you got to watch out for my ego.
Yeah.
And being the number one show in the world for however long it was, you got to watch your own ego.
Yeah.
Because, one of the greatest things when I sort of came off the show and I worked on another show called, I think it was Can You Duet, which was another singing competition based here in Nashville, Tennessee. You suddenly go, well, you don't have that American Idol brand anymore behind you. And you call up favors and they're like, no, not interested. And you're like, wait a minute, don't you know who I am? And you go, oh, that's my ego.
Yeah.
So you've got to check your own ego as well a lot of the times. Yeah. And I think when you're dealing with someone's ego, if you're coming from a humble place yourself and you keep the eye on the ball, as I said, and you're trying to make the best show possible, you're trying to make them look good, and you speak the truth to them, and they can see that, it tempers them, and then you've got a team. You start building up a team together.
Yeah. So I love what you said there in terms of, adding the element of grace. Like when you're doing business with people, there's the substance, obviously, and sometimes the substance is tough news. Sometimes the substance is you got to give someone a reality check. But the style in which you do it becomes really important in terms of how it's received. And so that idea of saying, speak truth, but have a measure of grace, and that can get you a lot farther.
A lot farther.
I think there is a lot of wisdom in that. And I would just interpret that for folks to say, the substance is what the substance is. You got to deliver it. But think about the style in which you're going to do it and the way you're going to do it in a way that kind of cares for the other side, despite the fact that you have to deliver this. I think about that. A lot of people find themselves in a situation, I'm sure you've been there, I've been there, to where you've had to let someone go that you actually really like.
A lot of times, to be honest.
And you're in that situation where you're like, man, this is really hard. I got to be truthful with them in terms of the substance of why we've made this decision, what the decision is, what their future is. But to do it in a way that adds that level of grace, I think in the long run, especially in a relationship-driven world that we live in, I know the entertainment
100%.
industry is like that.
All relationships.
That actually goes a really, really long way.
Yeah.
And people never forget it.
Yeah. And trying to connect, I always try and look at whoever I'm talking to through their lens, if I can. If I can adapt my view to, I have a lot of respect for artists and talent, Simon Cowell and things like that, because they're under such different pressures than I am.
Uh-huh.
They can't just go down to a burger restaurant and sit down and have a burger.
No.
Their lives are under such pressure and such scrutiny all the time. So if you come at it, try and look at it from their lens and you try and empathize with them as to what they're trying to get through, you're going to create a friend with them. You're going to create a trust with them.
Yeah.
And they're going to want to work with you again.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's huge. If you can, from any perspective, quite honestly, if you can try and figure out the lens they're looking through. For like a network executive, their lens is, I've got to speak to my boss and I've got to get some ratings.
Yeah.
What is the best way I can get ratings on this show for our demographic and to appeal to our audience and to appeal to our advertisers?
Uh-huh.
What is that lens they're looking through?
Uh-huh.
If you can connect with that and try and make them look good, then you can have a great show. You can have a great relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So even if that deal falls through, and by the way, many of them do, we're talking about my successes. For every success, I've had 200 failures.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, 2025, was one of the toughest years to negotiate any deal, with the networks all consolidating, everyone buying each other out, restructuring. It's the impossible industry right now.
Interesting.
So, for every success, there is, I always say I'm not exaggerating when I say 200 failures.
Yeah, yeah. And, that is the,
from the deal perspective, by the way.
Yeah.
From the, they normally fall apart in the deals.
Absolutely. So, being, entrepreneurial and wanting to do big things, that's the story of everyone that's looking to do big things is, it's not a linear path. It is a lot of starts, a lot of stops, a lot of got to be real wise in terms of when you abandon that idea or when you've got to tweak it. And, again, it kind of comes back to ego, to where you got to be humble enough that it's not going to go the way that you see it. It's going to go this direction and that direction. And being flexible to do that becomes something that is really, really important in terms of finally getting to a place to where something connects, something hits, something goes as far as that happens.
And I think timing is so much.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've sort of realized is I go by a rule. It's Rule 62, don't take yourself too darn seriously.
There you go. Yep,
which keeps your ego in check a little
Absolutely.
bit, right?
Yeah.
And there's so much I realized over the years that's out of my power.
Uh-huh.
So, for example, I do a lot of negotiations with Disney in the past, and Disney are very protective of their brand.
Sure.
And Disney is a machine.
Uh-huh.
I loved working for Disney, but it is a machine.
Yeah.
And they have their budgets, their structures, their quarterly reports. And if you miss something, that's out of your control. If they've spent their budget, it's out of your control.
Uh-huh.
My point is, when I pitch a show, I might pitch the best show on the planet. It might be the next American Idol.
Yep.
But if my timing is off, if the network executive gets off and has a bad day and has a fight with their wife or husband, or something goes wrong there and they're in a bad mood when I pitch it, and they've just gone, I just can't be bothered today.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing I can do about that.
And it has
it's out
nothing
of my
to do
power.
with you.
It could be personal,
Yeah.
could be professional.
Yeah.
So much is out of my power when it comes to negotiating the big shows.
Yeah. So the timing thing, I'm really interested in that. So what's kind of your criteria? What's your litmus test in terms of making the determination now's the right time or now is not the right time?
So again, it goes back to research.
Okay.
And if you know your industry, I know don't pitch after Thanksgiving and 2 weeks into January because nothing gets made. Nothing happens.
Okay.
The Hollywood shuts down, basically.
Okay.
And, Hollywood, even in itself now, is spreading out and production's being made all over the world, not just in California. In fact, California's slowly imploding when it comes to production.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's know your industry is a big bit of the timing. Right now we're going through a real massive transition in the media industry, in the film and television industry. So now is actually not a good time to pitch anything because companies, Netflix looks like it's buying Warner Brothers. Paramount is looking at suing Warner Brothers. And so as these companies merge, now is a bad time because it's the instability within that company.
Too much uncertainty.
Too much uncertainty. And so it's a really bad time to pitch. The timing for me to that is like, let's let the dust settle and see what happens.
Yeah.
So it's researching that, staying on top of what's going on. Timing, there's a lot of luck was involved with American Idol. I'll bring it back to American Idol again because 9/11 had just happened. For the first time, America, as a nation, the homeland was attacked.
Yeah.
Everyone was scared. Along comes a show that is the American dream. And who decides the American dream? America does.
Americans. Yeah.
And Rags to Riches story, it just ticked every single box. And it hadn't been on air. No talent had been on air for a long time. So that cycle of shows, no one's seen this show. And with technology changed, and suddenly we could do this unscripted reality competition show that we couldn't do before because of technology as well. So the timing of it, you couldn't have done it earlier, and you wouldn't have been so successful if you'd done it later.
Yeah.
And the timing of it, almost like not being successful, whenever we got turned away from all the previous networks, and the timing of launching it when we did, it was just perfect. The chemistry between Randy, Paula, and Simon when it launched, you can't manufacture that. Sometimes it just works. And I wish we could bottle it up and figure it out because I'd have 100 shows, number one on the show right now.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things that were, again, out of our control, but the timing just worked out really well.
So thinking about the different moments where the timing has brought something together, you have something here. But you've got one or two pieces to put together to kind of make this go forward. You've got a lot to lose if this deal doesn't happen.
Yes.
Or if you can't sign this particular talent to come be a part of it or whatever the case might be. Like, how does that change how you negotiate when you've got a lot to lose, when you've got a lot on the line? How do you manage the pressure and the risk tolerance that comes with that in terms of still trying to be assertive and to get the deal that you need to get and to use the leverage you need to get to try to get it?
That's a tough question to answer because every single show, single negotiations is a different one. And I think the key for me in the television film business is I'm never negotiating one contract. I'm negotiating and I'm pitching a number of projects at the same time.
Yeah.
So you sort of, I'm not ever reliant on one deal. I'm always balancing it out with multiple deals from unscripted to scripted. And now, more importantly, where the eyeballs are going is social media and online and digital. So there isn't really one right or wrong answer to that, honestly. Tough question for me to answer. It really does depend on who I'm negotiating with. Again, what's their angle? What's their timing? And it's getting more and more difficult to negotiate, quite honestly, in the media business, in the legacy media business, as it's now called, because we've got no other buyers to sell to. So you're going to get these big networks like Disney, Amazon, Netflix, Paramount. You're either pitching to those four or you're not now. Before 10 years ago, you'd have a lot more cable networks. You'd have to be negotiating with a lot of people.
So let's talk about that because that's interesting to me as well. Lots of people find themselves in that situation to where they have to negotiate, and there's a power imbalance that they're on the wrong side of. They only have a few different options, and one of those has to work, or this deal is not going to happen. Their customer pool may be small, and so if they're going to grow their business, they got to be successful with somebody in this customer pool, or else the business isn't going to grow. And so in those kind of dynamics where you don't have the power, you can't just walk in and say, here's how it's going to be. How is it that you kind of manage those moments? What do you turn to try to get those deals done?
We call it stacking the deck in our favor.
Okay.
Don't know if you've heard that term before. I don't know if it's just an industry thing in my industry.
Yeah.
But I'll talk about how I pitched Meet Me Next Christmas with my partner, Mark Roberts.
Great.
We actually pitched it back in 2018.
Okay.
It streamed last year on Netflix, the number one Christmas film around the world for a couple of weeks there. But again, we pitched it in 2018. We attached Pentatonics to it. That's what I brought to the table, the a cappella group Pentatonics.
Wow. Yeah, love them.
We put together a good writing team, a vetted writing team. Mark Roberts, who's got a long history of Christmas films.
Yeah. So
you're building a team and having Pentatonics as talent. You're slowly building stacking the deck in your favor. When you go to Netflix and you say, hey, Netflix, I know you need Christmas films, and we've got a great script, the band, great producer. We're ready to go. Here's the budget. We know it lines up with your budgets because we did our research. What do you think? And they greenlit it straight away in 2019. And then timing. What happens in 2020?
The whole world comes
the whole world
to
collapses and it falls apart. So that script goes away. Production stops. We wait. Guess what happens then? We get greenlit again. And then the whole network executive team gets restructured. It goes away again. That's in 2022. Then we get new teams have to repitch, start from scratch. We repitch it again. And the writer's strike happens. And then it's gone
this
again.
Thing's cursed.
And to the point of like, I actually give up on this. And in 2023, I get a call from Netflix going, how do you feel about it being a BIPOC film? And I'm like, sounds great to me. I'm okay with that. Okay, we'll greenlight it again if you're okay with it being a BIPOC film. Meanwhile, I'm pulling out my laptop going, what the heck is BIPOC?
I was asking the same question, so I don't feel as dumb now because I was like, I don't know what that means.
Are you okay with the cast being Black, Indigenous, people of color?
Okay.
Sure. It didn't bother me. It didn't bother me then. Doesn't bother me now. And so we had the most amazing lady called Christina Milian, and she was our lead character in the film. Absolutely wonderful lady to work with. And as soon as we got her on board, the film got greenlit again. And to the point of when Netflix says, we're going to shoot it in Toronto because it's a great double for New York City where the film is set. And I said, look, I'll believe this show's happening when I see a flight ticket. And they went, check your inbox. I went, okay, maybe it's happening. And I said, I still don't believe it until I'm on set in 2 months when we're shooting in Toronto.
Yeah.
And then I was like with the network executive going, I'll believe this show's going to stream when I see it on air streaming. Because, we've had shows literally greenlit all the way and then disappear just when you're getting into production.
Oh, man.
Multiple reasons. Yeah. You just don't know what's going on behind the scenes within these big corporations of networks. Restructuring, people being fired, budgets changing, change of direction. I had one of the worst pitches I've had. Well, I was giving the pitch to a network executive, and I won't bring up the network or the executive's name, unfortunately, but I was pitching it to them, and he's like, oh my gosh, I love this idea. This is fantastic. This is exactly what we're looking for. Fantastic. And he literally in the middle of the pitch, he went, Simon, I have to stop you there. I've just got an email. I've just been fired, and they're not doing any more unscripted on this network. They're going fully scripted in the middle of my pitch.
In the middle of the pitch. So well, that's probably when you can shut down at that point.
That's right.
That one's not going anywhere, my friend.
There's no negotiations there.
So
it's a give and take. As I said, you stack the deck in your favor. With Pentatonics, you made sure they were signed up. You have a great script. So that's copyrighted. A script is copyrighted, so they can't go off and make it without you.
Yeah.
And then it just comes down to what's the competition. They've got other scripts. They've got other talent. And what direction. And have you done your research? Do you know you tick every box of what they're looking for? In regards to demographic, in regards to viewing audience. That's it.
I love it. I love that idea of stacking the deck. That is
in your favor.
So interesting to me. And I think it can be encouraging to people when they're trying to put a deal together or they're trying to solve a problem and, their first run at it doesn't work. They get shot down or they get no progress in terms of trying to get that resolved. And so many people at that point would just quit and give up. And they would say, this formula doesn't work. And I love the idea of stacking the deck to say, no, like go back and work on the formula. And the idea of stacking the deck is really interesting because so many times, like you just described, it's not one thing that's missing. It's multiple things that kind of have to come together in order for the deck to be such that it becomes compelling now. But oftentimes, as you're stacking the deck, you're kind of working on one at a time. And so I love that idea of saying, okay, the timing may not be right, or we don't have the right messaging in terms of the communication and the audience that we're speaking to. So we got to work on that too. And it just gives kind of an idea of what people need to do, to where now all of a sudden they take the pitch, they take the idea, they take the proposal, and they go back. And what happens is that what I found in my experience is that people, very rarely do I see people just change their mind. Like the original analysis that they've come to, they just look at it again and they just come to a totally different. I don't see that much. But what I do see, and this is where stacking the deck comes in, is people make different decisions based on different information. And all you're doing when you're talking about stacking the deck is creating different information that gives people the opportunity to make a different decision and to reformulate their analysis about it. And I love that idea because that's such a powerful avenue for people to pursue to get deals done that are difficult to get done or don't get done the first time, is this notion of stacking the deck, which is fascinating.
And you can help yourself with that because certainly in my business, we're building teams. We want to work. The network executive you're pitching to wants a success. So if you've got a good relationship, and relationships are everything in our business, if you've got a good relationship and you can contact them and say, how can I structure this better for you? When does your budget start? When is a good time to pitch? Again, it's just intel. If you're just gaining that information, and it's such a fluctuating business right now with executives coming and going, revolving doors, it's very scary for them. So they are very coming from a defensive position. I don't want to invest? The more you can stack the deck in your favor, you're actually helping them.
Are they more conservative because of the uncertainty?
Much more conservative right now. Okay. Much more conservative. Hollywood is very scared right now because honestly, everyone is flocking to social media. Though that Gen Z and alphas that are coming up right behind them are watching their iPhones. They're not watching television.
They're not watching TV. Yeah.
So the networks, the bigger networks, are all running scared. They're all now looking at that, how they can produce what they call verticals, which is obviously your phone is vertical as opposed to horizontal.
Sure.
And so they're all looking at producing now for verticals.
For verticals.
So we're all looking at different angles to get those eyeballs. Well, they're looking at different angles to get the eyeballs back on them.
Yeah, the world's changing without a doubt.
It is changing.
So you've mentioned a couple of times that the importance of relationships in the entertainment industry. And I think that's true for a lot of industries. There's lots of people that say relationships are kind of key. So how do you balance the need to substantively achieve what you need to achieve in the deal with the importance of the relationship? Like that's always kind of a delicate balance to where, I don't want to come in too strong. I don't want to demand too much because I don't want to threaten the relationship. But at the end of the day, I got to get what I need to get in order for this to make sense, in order financially for it to work, whatever the case might be. Like, how do you balance kind of the issues in the deal with the relationships in which that deal is happening?
It's, they say the entertainment business, it's who you know, not what you know.
Okay.
So when it comes to relationships, that is key.
That is the capital.
And one of the things I have is in the Hollywood system, I have an agent in Hollywood, and it's their job literally to maintain relationships with every network executive.
Okay.
Because I'm busy making the shows and developing the shows, I can't have relationships with everybody, and they're changing so fast, the network executives at the moment. So but it is a fine balance, and our negotiating with the big networks is getting less and less and less. At the same time, I have a skill and a talent that they require. They still need content.
Yeah.
So they want to stack the deck in their favor, as we say, and they want to make sure it's a success. So how can they do that? They add a big name to it. Now, I've worked with a lot of big names, bigger talent. So by me attaching a big name to a show, it's going to help me with my pitch.
Sure.
And then that's a negotiation in itself, by the way. So then I've got to now deal with agents and managers, and their whole job is to suss me out.
Yeah.
Can I be relied upon to make their talent look good?
Yeah.
So that's completely relational based. They can look at my history, but the reality is how is my client going to get treated at the end of the day? Because the money at the end of the day is going to come. Okay? It's
Yeah.
a big industry, money's going to come, but can you be relied upon to deliver a high-end, good-looking program that's going to connect with an audience?
Mm-hmm. And so it sounds to me like, what you just described, it really is a trust factor. Like
100%.
Can the agents trust you to make their client, the talent, look really good?
Yeah.
Can they trust you to deliver in terms of all the production that has to happen in order for that product or for that performance to be outstanding?
So again, it's like looking at it. What is the lens they're looking at? What is the goal of a manager, a music manager with their talent? They're trying to sell albums. They're trying to put out the best impression. They're trying to put out streaming numbers. They're trying to connect with their audience. Will I deliver that? And that's when I pitch to them, it's like, let me tell you where this show is going to go. Let me show you how their music can be played. Let me show you what I've done in the past. So it's that showing a bit of your history and how you can connect with the audience. That's looking at it. It's me looking at it, trying to see it through their lens. What do they want?
And what else goes into that trust equation? I mean, you've got your background. You've talked about trying to see it from their lens, but what other ingredients are part of that trust equation, do you think, in terms of building that trust to where they say, yeah, Simon, let's do it?
It's the other thing about this industry is it's out of sight, out of mind. So you've got to maintain those relationships and stay connected to the business. One of the greatest things I did, I think, for me was to move to Nashville. Absolutely love it here. And it's a hub of creative people.
Yeah.
Nashville, in my opinion, is the most creative city in America right now.
Really?
With a music industry that's evolving and booming, and social media, it's evolving and booming here, production, and it's making sure you are seen hanging out with those managers and staying consistent to your word at the end of the day and delivering on what you say you're going to deliver. You build up a track record of that. They're going to start trusting you. They trust you. They're going to want to work with you.
There you go. So you mentioned all the deals that don't come together or all the deals, shows that don't end up working out, may never get produced, may get produced and be a flop. I mean, you just have these things.
Yeah.
How is it that when you have kind of a bad outcome, if you will, regardless of where that happens in the process, how do you recover from that with people? How do you continue to advance those relationships, even though there's been this dynamic that isn't ideal for everyone?
That's when you bring it back to and you take your emotion out of it and you go, it's still a business.
Yeah.
And you, in a way, it's like you just make it a little bit cold and you go, it didn't work out this time. But if it's a format or a scripted program, just because it didn't work now, like me next Christmas, it doesn't mean it's not going to work 6 years later.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, and that was the case with multiple projects. Just because it died now, it doesn't mean that network executive is gone and the network changes direction. That's happened multiple times. And there was a show I had called The Real G.I. Jane. It was about 15 years ago. Women were not allowed in special forces.
Sure.
So the concept was, well, we're going to prove they can make it.
Okay.
We're going to put them through the same test that Delta Force go through and the Green Berets and Navy SEALs, just to see if they can make it. And I sold that show maybe 6 times to 2 different networks. And the last one was the OWN network. It must have got sold 4 times. When I say got sold, we were negotiating, the deal was done, and then the network executive got fired, or they changed direction and they came back and we repitched it. And it ultimately never happened. But we actually closed the deal, but in the end it just went away. Now, what do? Do I go and fight for that money? Or do I wait to see, with patience again, do I wait and see if I can repitch to the new network executive? And I did. Yeah. And then if I go ahead and want to sue them for that money, I might just go and burn a bridge with the Discovery Network and they won't want to work with me again.
Interesting.
So it's a balancing act, a fine balancing act. And sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong, and you'll have to learn from your mistakes at the end of the day and go, I'm not going to do that again. Yeah. Or I've spent so much time on this project dealing with this company and I get burned. I'm like, well, I know where I stand with that company. I'm not going to go there again. Next time we go contract first, we'd start the creative after that because of what happened last time. It's just a learning balance, and you work with different people and different production companies and different networks.
Interesting.
And globally too.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're playing the long game.
Yes, it is a long game. And that's part of it. Failure was never an option in my business. It's going to happen. It may not happen now, but it's going to happen.
Okay.
I may not work with you on this project. The project's going to happen.
Interesting.
There is for all of my projects, by the way.
Yeah.
And last year, we're negotiating a big show right now with the Vatican and some A-list talent. And this is the show I'm most excited about in my life, quite honestly. If it happens, it's not if it happens, it's going to happen. It's just maybe not now. And last year was, as I said, for production, a terrible year to be pitching anything.
Difficult. Yeah.
With all the networks buying each other out, and you don't know where the dust is going to settle. So it's one of those, the show's going to happen. I just don't know when.
Got it. Love that attitude. Love it. All right, let's start thinking about some questions to kind of wrap this up. What I'd like to do is just have you think with me as practically as possible in terms of trying to give people some lessons learned from your career and all that you've been through and everything that you've negotiated. And so first question is, what do you think is the most important trait that has helped you as a negotiator in the entertainment industry? What's been the fundamental thing that has proven to be valuable to you?
It's going to go back to Rule 62, don't take yourself too darn seriously. And I say that because at the end of the day, I'm just making a television show.
Yeah.
My goal is for you to go home and put a smile on your face. I want to entertain you. I want to help you escape. I want you to relax. And literally that. And that's what I'm doing. So I can't take any deal too seriously because at the end of the day, I'm very, very blessed. I'm in the entertainment business.
Sure.
Yeah. And that keeps me very grounded.
Got it.
No one's going to die on my watch. I'm not a doctor,
Yeah.
So that's very grounding to me. Just to be aware of that.
What's been one of the hardest lessons that you've learned, either because it was painful to learn it or because you were just stubborn and didn't want to kind of embrace that, but you realize later, like, that's the truth?
Too many times I've let my emotions in the past take over my passions. So as I said, passion gives you clarity and focus, and you know where you're going, and you get followers and people believe in you. Emotion clouds everything. I've got way too emotional and taken things way too personally at times.
Got it.
And I think I personally have to be very cautious about watching those emotions erupt and take things personally, because business at the end of the day is business, and everyone has their agendas, and their agendas is to make whatever angle they're coming from. If it's, as I said, if it's a music manager, they're taking care of their artist. If it's a network, they want viewers. If it's someone who's trying to advertise within the show, they want to advertise in a certain way. You're working with a big company like Disney. I used to literally have 40 attorneys on the end of the phone saying, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. Got to protect the brand,
Yeah.
So it's, again, what is their angle? Why are they protecting the brand? What is their motives behind it? So it's trying to figure that out.
Yeah. So if you could talk to Simon 20 years ago, 30 years ago, what would you tell him based on everything that you've learned?
Okay. I say this to most artists, and I love this quote. If the spotlight on you is stronger than the light within you, there's going to be a problem. And I think we put all of that, that spotlight on American Idol was so bright at the time.
Yeah.
We just got to be careful of the contestants we're damaging along the way, and be careful of the teams we can burn. Back then it was the ego can take over, and I've heard people say to me, there was quite a famous saying: "May the bridges I burn light my way." That is not the way to do this business. Yeah. Don't listen to that advice. And I think a lot of that back in the early 2000s with the egos, with the producers, with the talent, it was a little bit out of control. So I think it's trying to find that humbleness to stay grounded is key to any success at the end of the day. We are a team. We are all human beings. We have to work together.
You kind of alluded to this, but tell us a little bit more about the next passion project, the next idea that's got you really fired up.
This project, if it's done correctly, will be a historic project that will change the world. And it's to do with archives in the Vatican. It's to do with music, A-list artists, and I'm so excited about it. I can't say too much about it at the current time.
Yeah.
But watch this space. Maybe I'll come back on the show and talk about it next time, because
that'd be great.
The negotiations we're doing with the Vatican right now, and who has control of what, and the artists, and who has control of the music and the networks. It'll be the greatest project I've ever worked on if I can get it off the ground. And the negotiations for this one, are very interesting because, again, you're dealing with global powers at the end of the day.
Well, Simon, I wish you well in that. Thank you so much for taking some time to stop by the Negotiation Made Simple podcast. A lot of incredible lessons here for people to learn based on your experience. And thanks for your passion and for putting together incredible shows that entertain all of us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Many times on the podcast, I learn things that I am excited to put to work immediately, that I know will make me a better negotiator. And this episode is no different. What Simon shared about stacking the deck, I think is really, really interesting. This is all about preparation. It's all about creating leverage, putting pieces together that make our offer or the deal that we have on the table much more compelling to the other side. And so I love that idea about how Simon goes and he gets the talent and he gets the investors and he does all of this in order to then create a really compelling offer to a network to take on a program. The same is true for us, whatever we're negotiating. There are things that we can do in order to make it more interesting to the other side, in order to make us more of a player to where we can have more leverage and more power at the table. And so, lots to take away from this episode, but the thing that I hope you'll remember with me is this idea of stacking the deck. If you stack the deck, you can get better deals. Thank you for listening to Negotiation Made Simple, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.